Hi, I'm Doran Ellen Beldotan in the holy city of Tzfat in Israel. And it's true. Tzfat is one of the 4 holiest cities in Israel, and I'm privileged to be a resident. Did a flash behind me because I have a news flash today unlike any other. It's hallelujah time, folks. All heaven and hell are breaking loose in the land of Israel. And this is the final kind of like showdown between the good and the bad in Israel, and the good guys are winning. What I have to report today is so amazing that clearly the redemption is here. I was called back to court as part of a wave of arrests that happened in Israel. I wasn't arrested, but I was called back to court after a long hiatus. Immediately after President Trump, at the urging of his daughter Ivanka Trump, said publicly that he's going to take on the pedophile rings and that it's an international problem, there was a wave of arrests, which I've reported. Another man was arrested by a SWAT team that came into his house. He's a really sweet guy who's, like many fathers in Israel, alienated from his children by the family courts. This is standard operating procedure here. Good fathers are taken away from their kids and not allowed visiting rights or minimal visiting rights. Some fathers haven't seen their children for years. He's one of them. He was arrested. The most recent arrest, I'll link to photos of the SWAT team, what they did to his apartment. The most recent arrest, though, is absolutely the most stunning. A man by the name of Barak Lazer was arrested. He has been accused of leaking documents which would be helpful to the parents who have been arrested who are fighting child trafficking in Israel. These parents have been accused of a suspected blackmailing, threatening, violation of privacy, computer crime, disturbing public servants, and sexual harassment, which is probably something like, writing to a social worker on the internet, go fuck yourself, or, something awful like that. They are being called network terrorists. That term is actually being thrown around, and the court system is trying to apply it to them. Well, this Barak Lazer leaked documents that are favorable to these parents who have been arrested, to the activists who've been arrested, and are not favorable to the social services and evidently the court system. Why is this of special importance? Because Barak Lazer, LLD, is no less than the counsel to the judicial system in Israel. He is the judicial system's lawyer who works in the management of the court system office. He's one of the most highly placed people in the court management system, and he has now been arrested, interrogated, and placed on house arrest for leaking documents that are helpful to parents who have committed the high crime of trying to get their children back and putting an end to the decades-long market of child trafficking in Israel. And while we're talking, let's talk about one of the reasons why child trafficking exists. Child trafficking is an integral part of the holy cow of national security all over the world. And the one tiny spot of bright light in that, which we may be able to fan into something very positive, is that means that pedophilia and sadism is generally considered disgusting and something that people would be embarrassed if the world knew that they were partaking in. At one time in society, these things just went on, and it would have been very difficult, for instance, to blackmail a pharaoh in Egypt or the king of Assyria with threats of exposing them as sadistic pedophiles, right? So the fact that this kind of blackmail exists means that most of the world considers this a terrible, ugly crime, and that's good. And we can use that core of goodness to make things better in the world. Intelligence agencies all over the world hold information about one another. Everybody has a film of somebody doing something, or a document, or information about their past, all kinds of things, and these things are used for mutual blackmail. Now, the citizens of countries are told that this is done for the sake of national security. If they're told that it's done at all, they justify it by saying, well, our intelligence agencies need to gather this intelligence in order to keep you safe. As the decent people of the world, it is our job to say that we do not believe for one single solitary second that our children and ourselves are safer because somebody else's children are being compromised. And we are also aware of the fact that what comes around goes around. And if I tolerate somebody else's child being compromised so that somebody will have information about pedophilia and or sadism, pedophilia is a form of sadism in and of itself, then I don't know when that's coming knocking on my door. And so the decent people of the world need to reach out to the security systems in their countries and say, guys, just happens to be a helicopter over my house. Guys, we know you're putting your lives on the line for the sake of national security. We think that there are healthier ways of doing that. Perhaps if we don't presume the absolute worst in people and we rather culture the absolute best in people, these older ways of doing things will pass away from the world. Just the way at one time, as I said, there was no blackmailing of public officials because nothing that they did was considered shameful, and they were so autocratic that doing such things was impossible. That passed out of the world, so this can pass out of the world. Let's reach out to our security systems with the message of, no, please don't traffic children in order to keep my children safe. Thank you for listening.